Have you ever taken a hunter safety course? Have you ever handled a firearm?
I have handled a firearm. I have never taken a hunter safety course.
Do you think the United States does a good job of protecting animal rights?
I think so. I mean, I think most hunters are very conscientious about that, and I think, like when I went hunting, I felt like the guys I was with they were conscientious about that, and also because people have an interest in wanting to continue to hunt, and so I've never heard of hunters that want to go out just to abuse and destroy animals, nor do I feel like hunters want to eradicate total populations of animals, because then their sport would be done.
Yeah.
So
do you personally view hunting as a sport or more of a cultural activity?
Well, I think that depends on, I think for a lot of folks it's just viewed as sport. Like my dad used to hunt. My stepfather's a real big hunter, and my stepbrother is a huge hunter. And those guys, like if you think of the cultural institution of family, it's like a huge part of their family identity. And they hunt and they eat what they hunt. So, it's not just a sport. Sorry. If they're like, and they hunt upland game, and they hunt upland game birds, ducks, and even like elk and deer. But then I know some people just do it for sport, but I think, so I don't know, I can't really speak, but it seems like most people in the Northwest, when they hunt so they have some source of, they're doing it for food, and they like what they're gonna shoot and eat.
Some people depend on hunting to survive. Is there a good and bad side to it that you see?
Well, I think people who are really dependent on hunting, first of all, that's a really inefficient way to get food. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy. We were just talking about that in Western Civ class, like hunter-gatherer societies, there's very few left because it's not a very sustainable kind of way to get your food. If you're dependent on hunting for survival, I think that speaks to the fact that probably you're really poor, and you just can't afford food, so you've got to supplement your food with hunting, and that's problematic that we have poverty. But I don't think it's problematic that people would be hunting. I think that the best case scenario is whatever you kill, you're going to eat,
Mm-hmm.
and that you're not killing a surplus of animals, and you're killing what you need.
So, for the famous argument, hunting helps to prevent overpopulation, do you agree with this or do you disagree?
I disagree. I think that I know that deer populations have exploded in the Northwest, but that's because the wolf population has declined. They're reintroducing wolves, and I think that to make that argument is to overlook more nuanced things going on in ecosystems, and so I think that and if it was the case that we'd be overpopulated with wild animals, then we certainly wouldn't have the need for limits in hunting, right? So it seems counterintuitive. Those things they seem contradictory. So I don't think that's a real valid argument.
So do you think that hunting is a very organized sport, or is it something that's more dangerous and unorganized?
I think that in Oregon, it's really well organized. The Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife requires you to get a license. There's rangers out there. They're checking for your licenses. I've been in backwoods backpacking and and fishing, and I've had a ranger come up and ask me for my license. I think it's fairly well regulated.
So do you object to anything about hunting?
I'd say, I think the only thing, I really don't, I think Mr. Anders might be surprised by that response, because I really believe in nonviolence, but when it comes to hunting as an activity, and as a cultural institution across the world, I think that if practiced responsibly, and if people have a real depth of understanding of the consequences of what they're doing and the role that they're playing in the ecosystem, and I think a lot of hunters are really mindful that way. They like doing that. They like feeling this real connection to, you know, the ecosystem and life and all that stuff. That's totally cool.
Have you ever taken a hunter safety course or handled a firearm?
No.
Do you think the United States does a good job of protecting animal rights when it comes to hunting?
I would say that they make it more fair for the human that hunts, not necessarily putting all their care into the animals, but I guess they do what they can to make the people happy.
So do you view hunting as a sport or a cultural activity?
I don't really think it's a sport and a cultural activity. I guess if we're talking like Native American, yeah, I definitely think it's a cultural activity, and I would agree more with the cultural activity side of it.
So the famous argument, hunting helps to prevent overpopulation. Do you agree or disagree with this statement?
I disagree with that. I hate that statement. I hear that all the time about everything, like, oh, the alligators are overrunning Florida, we need to like hunt them. That's not fair. Like, should we start hunting humans? Because we're having pretty bad overpopulation too. I do not agree with that. I think that that's horrible, and we've used that justification and we've wiped out so many beautiful species that like create natural processes in our world, and we're trying to overcompensate for those natural processes that could be happening for free by like technology, and that's like creating pollution and being like disgusting. Like, we're so unhealthy now because of technology like taking over these natural processes. Like, if we were to pick like a plant from the forest that was untouched, that would be way healthier than the food that we get out of the food industry these days, because technology is about like just being faster and more, and it's not really caring about the quality. So I definitely think that that's the stupidest argument that one can have.
So what are some of your major objections to hunting?
Well, like I said, the overpopulation, totally not okay. I don't think it's fair. I think that when the Native Americans did it, it was way more fair because it was kind of like, it was cultural and it was like a way of life, but now it's like people murder these animals for like fun, or like I've seen so many videos of like people doing just sadistic things to these animals, like when they're hunting or in the food industry, and it's just gross. And I don't like the idea that those are people that like that are in our world, like, because people always say that when children like torture animals, it's kind of a sign that they're going to be a serial killer later, so you have to like watch that. And like, if anyone can murder an animal, I just like, that's just scary. I think all murder is bad. And also, like, if we're talking about eating meat, if you didn't kill it yourself, like, that's so dishonorable, because like you're gonna just eat, like, I just don't think it's right. Like, if you're gonna kill it yourself and then eat it for your family and use its parts, like, I can see that. Like, I'm not gonna do that. I can see that. But